Eligible Monster, I'm Benny. That's Dan. That's Natalie. You can find her on Twitch. Twitch.tv/AutoCandy. That's Dan. He's on something.
Dan T streamer at Twitch.
I don't know what it is right now.
Yeah, it's not like it's a very easy name.
Reason I bring up our Twitch is at the time that this one goes live, I will be live at this exact moment with Dan T streamer doing Final Fantasy 14.
Yes.
It'll be fun.
It's going to be long.
Yeah, we're going to do a long leveling because today we're going to talk about the 10 perfect expansions for specific MMOs. What a weird list that we are going over from massivelyop.com.
Yeah.
I actually, I found this list and I chose this one specifically because it didn't just go, these are the best expansions. It went, here's an MMO. This was its best expansion.
Right.
And I find that better than going, oh, look, they just named Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft expansions and no other MMO.
Yeah.
I do want to say, Dan and I are playing this right now. The link is twitch.tv/eligiblemonster. You can come check it out.
Yeah.
And don't worry, Natalie, not forgetting you. She will be live. Well, this goes live Friday. She will be live Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
What?
What? I'm helping you.
Why?
People need to know you exist on the Twitches.
Wow. I mean, they do, Ben, because I always plug myself. You don't have to do that.
I'm trying to be nice and she's being mean to me.
All right, then.
So number 1.
Yes.
World of Warcraft's best expansion is the Wrath of the Lich King. I will agree with this.
A lot of people will agree with that one, yeah. My personal favorite was Burning Crusade, but I think that was because I had a lot of personal milestones that I achieved. Like, my first capped character was Burning Crusade.
Yep.
My first epic mount was Burning Crusade. Like, all of that kind of stuff was Burning Crusade for me. That being said, Wrath of the Lich King was a phenomenal expansion.
Did you start playing when it first came out, or
I've played since Vanilla WoW.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was at Vanilla WoW, and I played Burning Crusade, and I loved them both. I felt Wrath is the best expansion because it normalized a lot of MMO tropes.
Yes.
Before Wrath, MMOs were still in that world of, they're grindy and super hardcore, and normal players can't get into this, and blah, 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 blah. I feel like Wrath had a nice balance of the casual with the hardcore. It was a nice, perfect world. And I mean, it's one of the most successful expansions they had. So
It really was.
Even you, Miss Anti-WoW, though I seem to convince you to play it quite a bit, this was the one that we played the most together.
Actually, no, it was Cataclysm.
Well,
because I like the idea
this is
of
the
a
one you
big
played
dragon.
willingly.
Just no, not at all.
With Deathwing.
You liked the Cataclysm one?
Not. I think you were the only one playing it. I was playing Ion at the time.
We were both playing Ion, and you were playing Final Fantasy 14 1.0.
And then I showed up for Cataclysm, and that's the last expansion I've basically played. No, I've never tackled Lich King. I went through it after because it was old content.
Right.
Well,
but
yeah,
I think
it was still the best content.
Lich King was one of the last ones I felt like I didn't feel like I got bored as quickly. Like a lot of the ones after it, I felt like I reached to the point of, I don't really want to play this anymore.
Yeah.
I need something different.
I
But
agree.
Lich King was one where I was like, I mean, with some exceptions, like Trial of the Crusade, I think is what it was called, aka the raid where you only had a specific number of attempts. There were no trash. Like, it was one of those ones where you could see what they were going for. It worked for what they were doing, but at the same time, it was like, it's not the raid I want.
Right.
Like, I like trash.
What I liked about Wrath too, Wrath kind of brought to a close the Warcraft storyline that we had known and existed up to this point. Wrath, I don't know how true this is, but I remember reading back during the Wrath days, they had said that their original plans before they knew World of Warcraft was going to become what it did, was to go as far as Wrath and end the game. And that was supposed to be the end of World of Warcraft. Yeah. And you definitely get a vibe of that with the way that this expansion was handled.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kata was a restart.
It was. And now
the
world ended.
And now I feel like every expansion, they just don't know what they want to do with the story. Yeah. Now we're going to another dimension. Now we're bringing back Legion.
Right.
Now we don't know.
Now we go, we don't have anything. Illidan. We're bringing him back.
That's what I mean.
And then right now they're like, we don't have anything. Thrall. Let's bring him back.
Exactly. Like, I feel like since Wrath, like Kata was a great restart, but they had I have felt like there's no general focus of World of Warcraft. It's one of my biggest complaints of it versus Final Fantasy 14 at this point. 14, we have stayed on one very linear storyline overall. We're going in one direction.
Yeah.
While World of Warcraft feels like, well, where are we going next expansion?
Right. Plus, a lot of the most recent expansions from WoW had way too many lulls between new content, and that was what pushed me away. Just because it was like, okay, So I've done this raid so many times, and
Yeah.
new content's not going to come out for 3 months, and we got new content, and it's a selfie cam.
I think they'll never live that down.
Yeah, with Instagram filters. Yeah, I remember that.
Natalie was because I don't remember what you were playing at the time, but yours came out with an like some kind of patch, like actual expansion. May have been Ion or something, but like a new dungeons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at the exact same time, I was like, I got the
I think it
selfie
was
cam.
14. I think it was 14.
Yeah, I think they came out with something big at that point.
Probably.
You were
Yeah.
like, because I was still playing WoW, and I was like, I got the selfie cam. She's like, and I'm running dungeons. Enjoy your selfie cam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, well, I guess they're going more casual by the the updates.
It was one of those updates where it was just like, okay, that's cool, but give us something else as well.
Yeah.
Like, we've been doing this raid for way too long. Give me a new raid.
Didn't they have the selfies and the official like houses or something, or like
Not
Garrisons
official.
at the time.
Garrisons?
The
that's
Garrisons
right,
was
yes.
at the time.
Garrisons.
That came out. That wasn't with that patch, though.
Okay.
That was like the entire expansion. It was, I believe, it was Selfie Cam and Pepe, which was the little bird that you would do
Yep.
achievements
That's
with.
right.
So that it would be on your head.
I remember that.
Okay, so the next one is Lord of the Rings: Mines of Moria.
My very
Moria?
first
You
Moria.
actually played this one?
My
Because
very first
Lord of the
time.
Rings
It's
is one of the
Moria.
I played this
Moira.
before Final Fantasy 11.
Lord of the Rings is one of the few MMOs I never tried.
Lotro.
Lotro.
man.
Yeah.
Freaking great.
I never even tried
it.
this
I
one.
played it early on.
Me too.
During my I went through a period of time where I was like, okay, I need an MMO, and I went to a website where there was like a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just went, all right, do I like it? No. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. And I went through easily 50 different MMOs.
Yeah.
I did that too.
This one I started, I played a little bit, and I was like, this is just a bad WoW. I hate to say it when I played it.
I just loved the world though, because I was a massive fan of the
Yeah.
books and the movies. I've watched them countless times, so I was like, this got to be for me, right? And then I got bored eventually, unfortunately. Yeah.
So not much more for us to say on this.
Yeah.
I do want to say though, you said you went through all these MMOs, and she'll remember this. I had a weird period where I had a very similar mentality, but my idea was I want a cap in every MMO. So I downloaded. This was between when Final Fantasy 1.0 came out, and I was kind of done with WoW because this was between a bunch of things.
Right.
So I was like, I downloaded Star Trek Online and capped in it. I downloaded Champions Online and capped in it. I downloaded this game called Ether Saga Odyssey and capped in
I
it.
think I remember that one.
It was like some Japanese anime kind of thing, but you
Yeah.
could auto run. So I would like be auto running in that one while capping in another game. And I also capped in Ion at the time, and that I never did anything in that one. I was just like, I did it.
That's
Right.
when
Done.
his ADD truly took over,
Yeah.
and then he just never looked back.
I capped in a bunch of games, and half of them I would get to the cap and go, well, now what?
Yeah. That's honestly how I felt about WoW on the past couple expansions.
Which is
"Oh,
why,
this
but
is
it's why I
amazing."
stopped doing
Yeah.
it. I kept capping in these games, and then I was like, I don't do anything afterwards.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls Online, with their best one was Morrowind.
100% agree.
I agree, because that changed the game to a totally different
Basically
game.
a rebirth.
Yeah.
It was.
That was a realm reborn for
Yeah, basically.
Elder Scrolls.
That
and
was-
Yeah.
that brought all of us back.
Right, that was the one Tamriel. It's got me playing now because
Yeah.
it has the one Tamriel, so I can jump in whenever I want and feel like I'm not behind anyone.
Yeah.
You were able to go and do anything. It also kind of restarted the game. If you were starting over, you could just jump into Morrowind.
Yes.
This was I do think Somerset was better actually, and Elsewire is really good, but this was great because it brought in that generation.
Exactly. Like the Somerset and Elsewhere were good because of the foundation that
Yes.
Morrowind brought. to the
Morrowind
game.
was the Elder Scrolls Online we wanted at launch.
Yes.
Yeah, I
You
never
never
stopped
came
playing
back.
for it, so I never stopped playing. And no, actually, I give it a shot. Because I realized that I've never stopped my subscription, so I had an insane amount of
Oh, I
points.
I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
You came back and you were like,
I did come back, though,
15,000
yes.
crowns.
yeah, unfortunately, there was just we were playing 2 MMOs at the same time, so I had to go over to 14, obviously,
Yeah.
for nostalgia purposes.
These three, I don't think any of us really played hardcore. I dabbled in 2 of them. Star Wars Galaxy, Jump to Lightspeed was the big groundbreaking one for them. They introduced the ability to have ships and fly out there, so that was really good.
I'm surprised it's not Star Wars: The Old
Yeah,
Republic.
yeah,
No,
Because
Star
that
Wars-
one I played.
yeah.
Star Wars
Same.
Galaxies is actually the game before Old Republic came out.
Okay.
Star Wars Galaxies is the original one, which was really good because you could randomly become a Jedi. And then they made it so that anyone can become a Jedi and pretty much ruin the game because you'd have gangs of Jedi roaming the world.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
This
right,
was
right.
built on old school like EverQuest style, so
Yeah.
it wasn't Old Republic where it's like story, narrative. Doesn't make sense that my Sith is doing fetch quests, but whatever. This was the old school days where it was like Welcome to the world of Star Wars.
Right.
Figure it out. Jump to Lightspeed was their big one that brought you into space.
Yeah.
Okay.
EverQuest 2. I never did 2. I did 1. I did 1 way back in the day.
Yeah.
I played EverQuest 2 like a very, very short amount because it was right towards the end of it, essentially. Like, it was when it was starting to kind of go downhill a little bit, and I think it was around the time that WoW might have come out. WoW or Guild Wars.
Guild Wars was good, yeah. EverQuest 2, there's Echoes of Fedor. Apparently, this is the best one because it came with the new playable race, the new starting city, new gear slots, gear stuff. So it was pretty much their first big expansion.
Okay.
Yeah. EVE Online, I know none of us have touched.
No.
All I hear is that EVE Online is insane to get into.
Yeah, I remember downloading it thinking, this is going to be great. And then I started, I was like, this is not the kind of MMO I want to play.
Ultima Online, I did play. The Second Age is what they flagged as their best. I was too young to really know even what I was doing in those days. The Ultima Online is like the 90s, man.
Oh, yeah.
But this is what got me wet and moist.
Please don't say
for
that.
MMOs.
Oh, my God.
Why are you touching me? Please don't touch me.
Benny is the king of wording things wrong.
I would probably say Second Age is the best all-around expansion because it brought new baddies, a landmass that had been cut from the original game,
Right.
and it was the most Ultima-like feel of every expansion added in 20 years. Then they also said Samurai Empire was really good, but I had no idea. I'm going to come back to Stormblood. We'll end on that because I want to do these last two first. Okay,
That's fair.
Because they have Final Fantasy XIV's best as Stormblood, and I have my.
I would have put A Realm Reborn, honestly, but
Nah,
We'll talk
see,
about it, yeah.
Star Wars: The Old Republic, Shadow of Revan.
Oh.
That
is
brought back
The Old Republic, there you
brought
go,
back.
yeah.
Well, because Galaxies and Old Republic are different games.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No, I played a ton of it. It was actually during Cataclysm that it came out, and my entire guild was swapping over. So I was like, well, I like this group of people. I'm going to swap over, and I leveled up a Jedi Sentinel, the tank.
Nice.
And one of my companions was the girl, and I really wanted to sleep with her because you can do that in the game.
Yes, you can.
And I glitched it out, and they didn't fix it for the longest time, so I could not do anything.
Yikes.
And it was
I remember you had that
frustrating.
same mentality. You were trying to sleep with somebody the whole game.
It's one of the-
It was around the time that the first Final Fantasy came out, 14, the first 1.0, yeah, came out, and I was not pleased with it. So I went into Star Wars, and I also played to Cap for this character purpose as well. And it was a guy, obviously, not a girl, but same thing, same concept. I basically just did his entire storyline to attempt to sleep with him. Never happened.
Right. Well, it's because it's one of those ones where it's just like in games like that, you always want to complete the relationship thing.
Yeah.
Just because it's
Exactly,
like this is because when this came out, it was a new thing.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was not like right now where every single game has a relationship.
Yeah.
You can do that, and it's just like okay, it's kind of like the open world thing of like okay, everyone's doing it. Come up with something new.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh, no, they did. You go to the tower to unlock map locations.
Yeah.
I didn't play that expansion, but I did enjoy the original game. So
Same. Yeah, it was good.
City of Heroes had an expansion called City of Villains. Now, I did play the heck out of City of Heroes.
Of course you
Okay.
did.
You make a superhero, you run around, you do cool stuff. City of Villains was cool because it wasn't so much an MMO expansion, but another game.
yeah.
So what they did was they created a City of Villains. You could have your own hideout. You could have another character, an entirely new storyline, and then it created the PvP of the game, Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah.
And it was just the most incredible thing ever because they just basically made a second MMO and like trapped it onto the first game.
Right.
It was great. And I
Instead
remember they even
of-
sold it separate. You could just be a villain if you just had zero interest in the City of Heroes.
I'm kind of glad they did this and didn't call it City of Heroes 2 or something like that. Or like
Yeah.
villain, like, I don't know, something stupid. It's still City of Heroes, just an expansion added to it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. They listed that the City of Heroes only ever had and only ever needed 2 expansions. City of Villains and Going Rogue. That was it. None of this endless yearly level cap raising, regurgitating bullcrap that World of Warcraft and its myriad of clones have spawned. It truly was an MMO before its time, and I don't think a lot of people appreciate just how special it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. As much as I'm excited for the Final Fantasy XIV expansion, it is really just our cap's going up, more dungeons.
Did you hear WoW on their next expansion is going to do a level crunch finally? So they're reducing the max level again. So
That's good.
it's going to be cool because people aren't going to go, oh, So level cap's 150.
Right. No, and it actually creates a problem.
Forever. Like
it takes a problem because you look at it going, wow, I can't get to 150 quickly.
I think they're reducing it to 60 again.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting how they do it.
So it'll be just like Kata where it kind of changes the whole game again.
Yeah. Like because they've done the stat crunch in so many different games or different expansions, and because they would reach the point where you're like, oh, well, based on the fact that I've got 1,000 agility on this, the next expansion I'm going to have like 3 million on this single item.
Jesus, man. That's insane.
The stat crunch. Okay, so Final Fantasy XIV is listed as Stormblood. You already had a point against that.
Well, either A Realm Reborn or I feel like Heavensward, just in terms of story, was better for me. I got into Heavensward a lot better. I think it must have been the whole samurai era. I don't know. I mean, I love it, obviously. I love Sekiro. I love Neo, you know. Right. So there's no reason why I should hate Stormblood. I don't know. And it brought samurai too as a job, which it's, you know,
one of your
it was my
jobs.
main. Yeah. I don't know why it just didn't leave an impact.
much. Dan and I were talking about this earlier because I think Heavensward had the strongest story outing.
Right.
Stormblood, I felt the story was very weak in comparison to every other story. But I will say Stormblood was probably one of the better expansions.
Yes.
Because while it didn't really focus on bringing us like an amazing over-the-top story where we fight dragons, it did solidify a lot of what Heavensward made, and we kind of have what 14 finally is.
Right.
Because A Realm Reborn was a lot of questions.
So you're talking about jobs in general?
Just no, not jobs. Okay, so 14 came out originally, and we had an entirely different raid system. No way to really level up. But Heavensward brought a lot of ideas. Palace of the Dead, a more consistent raid system with tokens and stuff like that. Stormblood kind of solidified a lot of that.
It was more polished, essentially.
It polished it all up, right. And even the Relic Quest, they decided to make an entirely different dungeon for that, so that way it wasn't just rehashed content.
Yeah.
A lot of what makes 14 so much fun and good now was polished up in Stormblood, making it probably the best of the... Because a lot of it was just so much better.
Yeah.
They fixed so many problems.
Plus, it's one of those ones where, while the story may not have been as strong, story is a very, very small part of the expansion. Because you did the story once.
Yeah.
Then you didn't touch it until like the new patch came out, but you played the different characters. You did Palace of the Dead. You did all that additional content, and I think that additional stuff definitely made it amazing. And I was actually saying to Natalie earlier, the reason why I don't think A Realm Reborn came on there is because I don't think anyone really considers it an expansion. It was a remake.
Yeah, it was
like a remake. It was a remake of a base game. It was not, because expansions are a game adding on to it. That was... We screwed up. We're remaking
this. You
this.
can't go back to 1.0.
Exactly.
You can't just go back to the original Ulda and, go check it. What was that good for? You want a private server that I'm unaware of?
I wish you could. No. I mean, I still like the concept because it was made by the guy that made 11. It's just, I don't know what went wrong here. I don't know.
Everything went wrong.
It's sad. It's sad. But I mean, it's successful now, so that's all that matters, really.
Exactly.
And it's going to keep going. And it's
I'm
not
very excited for Shadowbringers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, which, once again, if you're watching this when it goes live, Benny and I will be playing it live on twitch.tv/eligiblemonster.
Yep. All right. And if you want to find Natalie, she'll be live on Saturday at about 2 p.m. playing probably Dark Souls.
No, dude. Sinking City's coming out.
I don't know what that is, but okay. Sinking City. And Dan will be with me on Stormblood. So, Shadowbringer. So
I'll be playing on my stream, I believe, at twitch.tv/DanTStreamer.
Yep. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week, we'll be back more on track now that everyone's back from E3, recovered, back from London. Everything should be getting back to normal. We'll get some gameplay up in this channel, and we're going to keep making this channel better than it ever been before. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time right here.
Thank you.
See you guys.